Hello, my name is Ivachi and I want to make my first YouTube video on why after about 15 years I still play World of Warcraft. But first, let's go on a little journey through my personal history with the game, and let's get started with where it all began. It all started for me approximately 6 months before the release of World of Warcraft's first expansion. World of Warcraft was a new take on modern gaming that instantly had me hooked with the exceptional visuals for its time and sleek combat mechanics. I was very intrigued with the massively multiplayer online aspects of the game, but didn't really take note of just how much of an important factor this would be. What I took from the game back then was it's just another video game. I found out about this game from a friend who had just started playing it, and so I went out and bought it and was instantly hooked. So hooked that I played WoW with an average of about 4 to 8 FPS until mid-first expansion, as I didn't know that I needed a graphics card. World of Warcraft was the craze. It was the game everyone was talking about, and it was in its infancy of blowing up. Little did anyone playing it at the time, or even anyone who had heard of it, know just how big it was going to get. My first character in the game, which I can't remember, didn't last very long, because as soon as I got this character Stormwind, yes I was Alliance at the time, and gazed upon a level 60 Night Elf warrior on his epic riding Mount Tiger, I instantly logged off and created one. I couldn't wait to dig in. I was hooked in so deep I played World of Warcraft every opportunity I got. During my long journey to getting my first 60, I made a bunch of friends along the way and managed to get to level 60 just 3 weeks before the release of the first expansion. This of course all led to the highly anticipated and much loved first expansion for World of Warcraft. Are you prepared?
You are not prepared!
I was that invested already into this game that I had to buy the Burning Crusade Collector's Edition. I was so hyped for the first expansion. This was it for me. This is where it all truly began. Burning Crusade was going to be my playground. This is where I felt like I found my footing in World of Warcraft for the first time, and where I felt like I came into my own within the game. I was there as soon as that dark portal opened. I stepped through and admired what was to become the most exciting expansion of all time. I know that, well, subject to opinion of course, there has been better expansions than the Burning Crusade, but I still rate it in the top 3. For me, this was on another level. I was witnessing, nay, I was part of history. I levelled my warrior in Burning Crusade with a player I met in the game. We never talked on comms, but became extremely close friends. We only levelled when we was both online, and did exactly the same quests at the same time, experienced our first dungeons at the same time. We did everything together. It was an epic adventure that I will always remember. However, shortly after we hit 70, this person just vanished, stopped playing, and I never saw them again. It made me sad at the time, but I imagine it was just because they didn't share the same feeling I got for the game. Once I did hit max level, I did some dungeons with other friends playing as a tank. But if I'm to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing properly. I remember mostly just running up to everything, hitting Sunder Armour a few times, and then mashing other buttons. Well, actually at the time I was a clicker. Yeah, a clicker. As I mentioned, the friend I did all my levelling with had just gone MIA. Maybe it was my god-awful skills as a warrior that drove them away? I don't know. I still had plenty of people to play with though, and that's who I spammed dungeons with. I got to a point where I was getting nicely geared, but I wanted more. I needed more, and that's when I decided it was time to join a guild. I had 2 close friends who were in separate guilds. The problem was both these guilds were on the verge of collapsing. I had an idea. In hindsight, a great idea, to see if I could get these two to talk about a merger. This turned out to be the most successful thing at the time, and the two guilds merged into what I will for the rest of this video call my home guild. My home guild was born from the ashes of two dying guilds, and to this day, nearly 13 years on, the guild is still around. I don't think they do much anymore, but this was the guild that started everything for me. This was the guild that I first raided with, got my first boss kills with, my first gear set. I did everything with them. However, I didn't do all this on my warrior, because this is also the guild where I had a change of heart on what I was going to play in World of Warcraft, which would ultimately lead to my slight addiction to alts. I moved away from my warrior during this time and found a love for the priest class. I decided that this was going to be what I play from now on. Once I had hit max level on my priest, it was to become my main character for a while. I healed on it, and this was also the time that I decided to actually look into and learn my class properly. Within my home guild, we had a successful time. Not top tier guilds by any means, or even close to, but we was killing everything and we was having an absolute blast doing it. This is when I realised that this is what an MMO is. This is what it's all about. An whole army of us storming into enemy territory and having a great time doing it. TeamSpeak was God and we was unstoppable. We trampled through everything that Burning Crusade threw at us, and during the journey I managed to level a rogue and a hunter as well. Yes, also had become an obsession. I was in my element with this guild, this time in my World of Warcraft history, and nothing could stop me. Nothing could take this feeling or excitement away. Or could it? Step up, the Commander of Death himself.
Truest victory, my son, is stirring the hearts of your people. I tell you this, for when my days have come to an end, you shall be king.
Wrath of the Lich King was another expansion I fully enjoyed. However, it was definitely not for the same reasons. I embraced this expansion just as I had done with Burning Crusade, but the expansion would be my first downfall in my WoW history. Everything started great, I leveled my priest to max level, we stormed Naxxramas, Obsidian Sanctum, the Eye of Eternity and Ulduar. However, this would be my last raid for this expansion. My home guild had a decline. People left for other guilds, some people just decided they didn't want to play anymore, and the general feeling within the guild, that excitement and fun of playing together had just gone. There was nothing there anymore. People didn't bother coming to raids. When we did raid, it was usually just full of awkwardness or drama. This was what I'd like to recall as my first experience of a guild falling to its death. This isn't an unknown thing in World of Warcraft. It happens quite frequently nowadays, but back then it seemed like nothing could break a guild down. I ended up leaving the guild due to the issues and just a general feeling of it not being what it used to be. However, as I mentioned earlier, the guild didn't actually end up dying, and this wasn't the last time I'll be part of my home guild. But more on that later. I missed out on the rest of the raids for this expansion and just sort of potted around doing my own thing or just playing with some friends. I didn't feel like I wanted to be part of a new guild, and so I never bothered searching for one. Any offers that came along to join a guild were just for the most part ignored. I just felt lost. But little did I know there was a shining light on the horizon. However, it wasn't going to come at the hands of the Destroyer.
And all will burn beneath the shadow of my wings.
Cataclysm came along next. Unfortunately, this was a very bad expansion for me. I was not excited, I wasn't really feeling it, and even Deathwing himself couldn't lift my spirits for this expansion. I went into it with low expectation that it was going to be anything but a failure for me. I wasn't too far wrong either. I spent most of the expansion leveling ults, of which I think I got all classes to max level, except a Lock. I really didn't like Locks at the time, which is something I now regret since I play a Lock, just not as my main. Again, as with the end of the last expansion, I spent most of my time pottering around, not really doing anything exciting. I did enjoy all the dungeons and even managed to do a few raids with pub groups. I had one stint with a new guild during Firelands raid, but it didn't last long as the players within the guild realised they wanted more, and so all departed for different guilds. I was guildless again, and back to just playing with friends and doing random stuff. I don't mean to completely disregard Cataclysm as a bad expansion. I have no doubt for many of you it was amazing, and as I look back, I do actually see that it was quite a good expansion. Just at the time, I wasn't really feeling it. By the end of this expansion, I was feeling low. I was feeling like this just isn't the game for me anymore. I was ready to give it all up, quit the game for good and just have the memories that I had. It was not a good time for me in my WoW history, and I felt it. It's just a game, right? Well, no. For me, World of Warcraft was more than just a game. It was a feeling of getting lost in another world where I could have fun with other people, have a good laugh, whilst at the same time getting that epic feeling of downing bosses you've worked on as a team. But it had to end, right? Well, it almost definitely did. But the horizon was here. The change of everything. The new beginning. Garrus has got nothing on me.
Why do we fight? To protect home and family. To preserve balance and bring harmony. For my kind, the true question is, what is worth fighting for?
This expansion I was excited about again. I instantly fell in love with the Monk class and leveled one from the get-go. The feeling of this expansion, the beauty of it, it all just hit home for me. This was going to be my rebirth into World of Warcraft. Everything about this expansion was just perfect for me. Playing my Monk, I felt like a new person. This class was my class. This is the class I was yearning for and didn't even know it. I started this expansion guildless, but I had hopes and a newfound love for the game, so I set out to find a new guild. A guild that would be perfect for me, that would feel perfect. A guild with like-minded people who just want to kill bosses and have fun doing it. I didn't have to look for long or even very far, and I found them. An officer stood right in front of me from my home guild. I froze in place and thought to myself, no, how? Could it be? I instantly whispered him in game and asked him how he was doing. We had a bit of back and forth, and then I told him who my other character was and if he remembered me. I paused and I waited. It seemed like an eternity and every thought was running through my head. Will he remember me? I doubt it. Is the guild back to where it used to be? Probably not. As I waited, it popped up. You have been invited to join your home guild. I'll admit, I freaked out a little bit. I was excited, but then I quickly realised after I had already clicked the join button that I never asked if they was raiding. After all, this is what I wanted with my newfound love for the game. I never thought if any of the old members might be still there, what it's like nowadays, all the generic questions. I panicked, but quickly was reassured when looking at the guild list and seeing all the old members. After speaking to them a bit, I realised that they wanted to raid again, they was planning to raid again, and a big sigh of relief fell upon me. I was home. I was determined now. I was a little older and a little wiser, and the first thing I wanted to master in this game other than my Windwalker Monk was key bindings. Yes, I'd been a clicker all this time, but I wanted to change that, and so I started off gently with a few keys and quickly built up to what I do today, and that is everything key binded. Well, almost. I do still click non-important stuff like DPS pots, as you may see in these videos. If I could go back and tell myself and give myself some advice, I would say, learn key binding straight away. Because it's miles better. So here I was. I found my new love, my Monk. I was back home with the guild I started my adventures with, and everything was going great. This was an amazing expansion for me. As a guild, we was clearing rage without too many problems, we was having fun, we was having a laugh, and I was excelling in my own right as a Windwalker monk. I loved this game at this point. It was perfect. So you may ask yourself, well, what could go wrong? What could possibly stop this rampage I was on? Not just me, but the guild. We was unstoppable again. Well, nothing. Not for a while anyway. We saw out Mr. Pandaria, but towards the end I felt a need I hadn't felt before. A need that would be shared with many others in the guild. We didn't want to just kill bosses anymore. We wanted to be the best at killing bosses. We wrapped up Mr. Pandaria and got ready for our newfound urge in what would be a very messy experience. Oh Draenor, what did you do? So that's part 1, guys. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss part 2, which will be available in the next week or 2. World of Warcraft is a favourite game of mine, and I also stream it over on Twitch, so if you fancy coming over to say hi, then the link is in the description. Until next time, goodbye.